Everyone, it is now 1:42 p.m. and we are back from recess. And prior to the recess, we had just concluded the examination of Miss Elvira Manglonia Meskin, nominated to be a member of the Civil Service Commission. And I want to welcome everybody here to the office of the Mayor, Municipality of Rhoda, to join us in this afternoon's portion of the confirmation hearing. But before we proceed with today's order of business, I'd like to, if there are no objections from the members, I would like to go back to public comments, even though we've done that portion this morning. But prior to that, I would like to ask for your cooperation and to please silence your electronic devices at this time. Additionally, we are live on cable channel 23 in Saipan and here in Rhoda. We are also live on Facebook and YouTube on the Northern Mariana Islands Legislature's pages. And if for any reason we need to take a recess or a break, Facebook will continue to broadcast live without the audio. I also, for the benefit of the public present here today, want to introduce to you the legislative staff who are with us assisting this committee this afternoon to give us very sound and legal advice. We have Mr. Joe Bermudez, our legal counsel. We have our legislative assistant, Mr. Giovanni Taitano. We have our information technology assistant, Mr. Del Camacho. And our sergeant at arms for today is Mr. Ben Terlahi. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Oscar Babauta, the Special Assistant for Administration under the administration of Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apateng. And his job here is to formally present and introduce the nominees to us. I'd also like to invite the two nominees this afternoon to join us. Mr. Daniel Taitano, nominated to serve on the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors, representing Rhoda, the first senatorial district, as well as Miss Dana Calvo, nominated to the same board of directors, the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority. Mr. Babata, you may proceed when you're ready.
Ay, naman lost pocket, Madam Chair. Buenos dias, talos, and good afternoon to you, Madam Chair, Senator Selena, about that, and your esteemed members of your EAGI hardworking committee. Talon Biyay, thank you, Dan Hoffaday, Tiro, and thank you for the opportunity again to appear before this August body this afternoon. For the record, my name is Oscar M. Babauta, the Special Assistant for Administration for the Office of the Governor. On behalf of Governor Palacios and that of Lieutenant Governor David M. Apateng, I thank you for the opportunity once again to appear before all of you today. I'm officially here to introduce the governor's nominees for the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority. A very young and vibrant individuals, energetic for that matter, academically sound, none other than Miss Dana Calvo on my immediate left, and Mr. Daniel Taitano on my extreme left. Ms. Calvo is an experienced professional graduating from the University of California, Davis, and assuming it's coming to in 2017 with a Bachelor of Science in Managerial Economics and a Bachelor of Arts in Cinema and Digital Media, double major. She started at the San Diego Health and Human Services Agency before moving to San Diego Office of Revenue and Recovery as the Revenue and Recovery Officer from December 2018 to 2020. And this is a very good background, recovery. The word recovery is very nice for SIDA. Ms. Calvo received or moved to the cinema in 2020 as a grants specialist for the Office of Grants Management and State Clearinghouse under the Office of the Governor in 2021. She then became the manager of Cabo Enterprises Incorporated, which also operates the Sasanhaza service station, and I believe the family's business of Carlos and Sabina Fruit Farm. After currently, right? Moving along, another fine and energetic and vibrant individual, Mr. Daniel Taitano, after obtaining his degree in Boise, moved back to Saipan, where he served as the lease and permit technician one to the Department of Public Lands in 2019 to 2021 before becoming the SARA program coordinator for the Office of Grants Management Clearinghouse in 2021, where he still serves that office and serves many constituents today as a result of the opportunity of the Office of Grants Management for SARA programs. He obtained his Bachelor's of Business Administration in Business from the Boise State University in 2018 with a minor in marketing. Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apatang placed their full trust and confidence in both these fine young individuals, Ms. Calvo and Mr. Taitano, to serve on the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority. And I know that they stand ready to answer your questions and present their future plans for the future in the coming future for the CEDA office located in the island of Saipan. Their long history of professional experiences, credentials, and commitment to serving the Commonwealth in this capacity makes them a viable candidates, and we kindly ask for your expeditious approval, and more so approval towards the full Senate. So, on behalf of the people of the Commonwealth and that of the administration of the Palacios Zapatan, I wish to extend personally our gratitude to you, Dana and Danny, for considering in addressing many issues confronting our Commonwealth. You've been at a younger age. We are all going to Damanamco pretty soon, so we thank you for your service, both now and in the future. Thank you, Jesus Masi, Madam Chair, and members for the opportunity to introduce them to this esteemed August body. Jesus Masi again, and thank you once more. I'll see you at the airport.
Senor Babauta. I also want to recognize the presence of Mr. Paul Regis from the administration. He is a special assistant to Governor Palacios. Today, we will evaluate the nominees, Ms. Dana Calvo and Mr. Daniel Taitano, nominated by Governor Palacios, as I mentioned. Mr. Daniel Kitugua was nominated on May 12, 2023 by Governor Arnold I. Palacios to serve on the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority, or CEDA, Board of Directors. Ms. Dana Calvo was officially nominated on April 10th by Governor Palacios, also to serve on the CEDA Board of Directors. Today, like I said, we will vet the credentials of these two nominees from the executive branch, which requires the advice and consent of the Senate, a procedure unique to the Senate. And we will be here to vet their credentials beyond their academic and professional experiences. Each member of this committee has the inherent responsibility and obligation to ask probing questions of the nominees to determine their character, integrity to serve on this important board. And your nominations, Ms. Calvo and Mr. Taitano, come at a time of turbulent financial crisis of the government. And so it is critical that we um, think outside of the box, be resourceful in how we come up with solutions to assist the legislature in creating policy for our government. I will now open the floor for public comments. For those of you who wish to make public comments, I ask that you please state your name for the record and the entity you represent, and you are given 5 minutes according to the Senate rules to present your testimony. The floor is now open.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairwoman and members of this distinguished body. My name is Aubrey Holcook, Mayor of Rhoda, and I am honored and thrilled to be here before you and with our nominees to express my support. As a former CETA board member, I strongly believe that these two individuals, Ms. Calvo and Mr. Taitano, would serve as great assets to the agency. Rhoda is, of course, the most depleted municipality. We are in need of support of people who can represent not only the residents of Rhoda to support entrepreneurship, but the remaining or the rest of our neighboring islands. And I know that these two fine individuals will help bring solutions or help bring ideas that will diversify CETA and allowing them to be more flexible with policies that'll be more prone and more supportive to our entrepreneurs here. I did submit formally a letter of support, and I'm very honored to be able to be here. I also want to apologize for this morning's confirmation hearing of Ms. Elvira Meskin in support of the Civil Service Commission, but as one of the leaders here, I believe that these individuals have the experience, they are of sound mind, and they more than capable to speak and amplify the needs of our islands, not only on Rhoda, but for the rest of the Marianas. And so with that, I humbly urge and ask for your support to confirm these individuals, because our people of Rhoda would be best represented with them in those respective agencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Hokok. I also want to state for the record that we received written testimony in support of both nominees from Miss Abelina T. Mendiola, resident of Rhoda. Okay, the floor is still open.
Good afternoon, members. I'm Chair. For the record, my name is Jim Atalik. I am the chairman for the 19 Rhoda Municipal Council. And I'm here today because I believe in this young, energetic future leaders of Rhoda, that I know they're able to perform this job that they're going to challenge right now, but I know they will make it through. Okay, so I'll just keep it simple. I'll ask the members and model this organization to please consider giving chance and opportunity to our fine and young energetic individuals, our future leader of Rhoda. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Cecil Smarsit, Mr. Atalik, the floor is still open.
Good afternoon again, Madam Chair and members of this committee. For the record, my name is Albert Taitano, and but before I start, first I'd like to extend a sincere appreciation to Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Nu Apatang for the nomination of Ms. Calvo and Mr. Taitano. Madam Chair, I'm here as a member of this committee, and I'm here in support of Dana's nomination and Daniel. I believe their education and their experience both in government and in business is enough that they can do a good job on the board to help not only Rhoda, but also Tinian and Saipans. So with that, I ask for your favorable confirmation of their nomination. Again, thank you, Sidu Smasi.
Cecil Smarsit, Mr. Taitano, the floor is still open.
Good afternoon, Senators. For the record, my name is Anne Marie H. Tovis, and I'm humbly seeking your support to confirm Ms. Calvo and Mr. Taitano. I firmly believe that they can do the job and make good, sound decisions when it comes to CETA's policies. Again, I ask for your humble decision to confirm these two young and energetic individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tovis. The floor is still open.
There we go. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the distinguished committee. For the record, my name is Ivan T. Merritt Jr. I am a voter and a resident of San Paulo 1 from the 1st Senatorial District. The late Vicente Mendiola Calvo once said, "From humble beginnings," and the other phrase is, "Let's give a chance." Today, we see two of the youngest individuals of our municipality appointed by the governor and lieutenant governor to take the realm and seat as policy-making bodies of an agency designed to help the entrepreneurship and the community economic boom within our municipality. From humble beginnings, we see two individuals younger than myself coming and taking the realm. I know in the past we have always said that one day we will be the future leaders of the island of Rhoda. Today, that day has come. We ask that if given the ability to serve as the SEDA's representative for Rhoda, please give Director Calvo and Director Taitano the tools they need. Give them the tools they need to address the issues on Rhoda. And also, thank you for giving the Manhoban a chance not to just take part of government, but finally take over. Sus Mosi.
Thank you, Mr. Merib. The floor is still open. Okay, for the record, we also received a written letter of support from Mr. Manny Sablon, the Executive Director of CETA, for both nominees, Ms. Calvo and Mr. Taitano. We will proceed. May I ask Ms. Calvo and Mr. Taitano to please rise and raise your right hand while our legislative assistant will administer the oath to you.
Dana Calvo and Daniel Taitano, you do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You may be seated. Thank you. I will now give each one of you an opportunity to address the committee and give your opening statements so that we can know about you better and your character. So we will start with Ms. Calvo. You may give your opening statement at this time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the members of the Committee on Executive Appointments and Government Investigations and to the public in attendance today for your time. I give my sincere gratitude to those who submitted a support letter and testified today for their vote of confidence. I am honored to be considered for this opportunity to serve as a board member representing Rhoda in the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board. Thank you to Governor Arnold Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David Apatang for the nomination. I recognize the importance of this role and the influence it holds on the future economic prosperity of our Commonwealth. I am committed to serving our community, collaborating effectively with fellow board members, and being attentive to concerns and feedback. Once again, thank you everyone for your time. I look forward to the work ahead, and as my late uncle Vicente Mendiola Calvo once said, "From humble beginnings," and I hope to continue his legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Calvo. Mr. Taitano, I will now give you the opportunity to address this committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair Selena Babauta, Vice Chair Donald Manglonia, members of this committee, Senator Mendiola and Senator Manglonia. Mayor Aubrey Holcook, thank you very much, and all present here today. I want to express my appreciation very briefly. First and foremost, I would like to thank Honorable Governor Arnold I. Palacios, Lieutenant Governor David M. Apatang, and Mr. Oscar Babauta and his team for the nomination opportunity to serve as a board member on the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority. This is a moment of personal honor and responsibility that I do not take lightly. I understand the importance of this position, and I assure you that I will give it my all. I am committed to working hard and to ensure the Commonwealth's economic goals are met and that we continue to grow and prosper as a community. To the present CETA board members, if confirmed, I look forward to working hand in hand with you to guide and facilitate the success of the CNMI's economic welfare. Lastly, to the people of Rhoda, rest assured I will work tirelessly with eyes on the goals we concur together, my ears open to all voices, and my heart committed to the future growth of our beautiful island and the Commonwealth. Sizo Smasi.
Cesar Smalsett, Mr. Titano. I will now open the floor for any of the members of the EAGI committee to begin their questions. I'll go first. Donald. I recognize Senator Dennis Mendiola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm a little excited just because it's getting younger and younger. The nomination is getting younger and younger, and I'm starting to feel like more of mentors now. As I look at some of these, our leaders, we look at them as mentors now. Looking at the nomination for CETA, it's a very dynamic and very challenging task, but for young individuals like yourselves to accept the task, that shows character. I commend you guys both for stepping up to the challenge and accepting this nomination. So with that, I just really want to know, what do you guys plan? Should you guys get confirmed? How do you guys plan to bring your dynamics, your education, your background to work together with the team to try and move our CNMI forward?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. I strongly believe that a lot of our community are not informed properly. It's a daunting task to apply for certain loans, to start a business. And a lot of our people are scared to do that because of all the paperwork that needs to be done. I feel like with our expertise, myself with Dana, working in the SARA program, we're here to help. Our door is open if ever nominated. We understand that sometimes we may be confused, but as young leaders coming up, I feel like we're here for the people, and we're here to answer questions. So main point, get information out there to the community and make sure they're well informed.
Thank you, Senator, for the question. I concur with what Mr. Titano said about getting information out there and familiarizing ourselves with the program guidelines and making sure that we do our part and know exactly what it is that we need to communicate to our community, and also being aware of their concerns and feedback and experience with the agency. So that could help guide us with our planning and hearing also with current staff members and board members. So I think familiarizing ourselves with the programs in more detail, and also working hand in hand with those that are currently with the agency, and getting feedback from our community.
Thank you for that. And I'll just go ahead and jump on that same line. When we talk about just getting the information out there, it's true, because I myself really, to be honest with you, I just started learning about CETA and some of the programs through this committee, where I had to extensively go through a lot of information, and sometimes it's just overwhelming. And I could imagine our people just having such a struggle with that, just to go through all the process, the documentations that's required. So with that, how do you guys, or what are your thoughts with taking information technology? Because I think one of you two have marketing as part of your background. So how do you plan to take that with and corroborate it with trying to get those information out through information technology, like Facebook, Instagram, and the truth is everybody really is on Facebook or Instagram for the most part of the day. So these information, I think, are really vital. And so I just wanted to ask that.
Thank you, Senator, again. And you made a great point. Social media is a big presence in our community now, and I'm glad that my generation, as well as the older generation, has transitioned into that new era of social media. Even though it's still, social media is here now, we also have to look at the fact that some of our elders may not have social media. So we have to have the door open for them to come in, sit down, face to face, talk to us, have something tangible that they can see, touch, where they can ask questions. But social media is a big part of it, and that's going to be our main source of getting information out to the public, for sure.
Yes, so yeah, I agree with Mr. Taitano that it has to be a combination and variety of approaches with social media, getting the website very functional and user-friendly, and also having access to in-person interaction for our community that prefers that sort of service. So it's having a strong marketing plan and listing the challenges and addressing each one appropriately.
Thank you for that. So the way you guys are responding really right now kind of shows character, how you guys are just poised and confident in some of the response. And you guys are already showing team effort by collaborating and concurring with each other, ensuring that we have a seamless, a working group. I think with every challenges that we have now, especially having such a horrible, or I don't want to use that term, but given the state of our finances and the cinema as a whole, I think working together is the key to try and to move the Commonwealth forward. So I don't really have maybe till second round. I'll yield for now, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Mendiola. I now recognize Senator Donald Magnolia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, congratulations to you both on wanting to serve on this board in a volunteer capacity. But before I get into it, I just want to recognize the great work that our mayor had done while she was a member of the board as well. And so, if anything, she would be a great source of information to help also continue on what maybe she was working on and how best to move forward in this board. Several things that I want to point out, and these were items brought up in the Citizen Censure Report by CETA. I hope you've had time to review that, and if not, maybe take a look at to see what are some of the challenges that they've listed. One thing I want to bring up from those challenges that they've listed is just how to actively promote the cinema as a location for private investment and to encourage the development of new businesses and support the retention and expansion of existing businesses, and to seek out new markets for cinema goods and services. So if one of the things that your goal is to do as a board member of CETA, it's to promote the cinema as this place of investment. So maybe kind of share, what do you think, or what are some of your thoughts of what would make cinema an investable place, and how can we attract those investors? Maybe if it's something that should still be done with CETA, or maybe you can branch out to MVA to see how they can help in the process of advertising the cinema as a investable destination. So if you can just share your thoughts on that.
One idea that I have in mind and I do hear as from the community is we do need to not heavily rely on the service industry. I think investments towards production and producing an actual tangible product will be something that will promote the CNMI and also garner healthy attention of our location here and what resources and prospects we have available here.
Thank you, Senator Mangonia, for your question. Totally agree with you, Ms. Calvo. And also, just to bring up the issue, at least for the island of Rhoda, in order for us to prosper, we need some form of transportation, whether it be the ports or the airlines. Right now, as we all know, prices may rise with the airline tickets, and with that, no one wants to come here because it's too expensive, right? If tourists aren't on island, the island's not making any money. If we're giving out loans for businesses to prosper, they can't prosper because there's no one here to spend their money on their businesses. So first and foremost, I really think that we need some sort of guaranteed transportation through the ports or through the airlines so that we can have a constant flow of revenue throughout the island, whether it be here, Saipan, and Tinian. I would start there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And maybe as a recommendation, should you get confirmed, I know another one of the challenge and plans for CETA moving forward is to coordinate, develop, and participate in off-island investor missions to generate interest in the CNMI. And so prior to going out in these missions, I hope that you as a board or group of members maybe share with the community as well as the legislature and administration what are your plans to continue or to advertise the CNMI on these off-island missions. I do see that at least within the past year, 2022, we have received a little over $500,000 in approved loans just for Rhoda alone. So I think there is some great advertising done to assist our people, but maybe just doing follow-ups to see how these loans have affected them, whether it be positively or poorly, or how can you address the program, but also maybe reach out to these businesses to see if it's something that they can showcase to other the rest of our community to kind of get them motivated and confident to try out for these loan programs, if that will assist in helping them start up their new business or work on their current business. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is the QC program. Some of the challenges mentioned was that I guess CETA proposed legislations for consideration to amend the QC program. I was trying to check with counsel, but he's not familiar with that. So that's something that you feel needs to be addressed, the QC program, and how the legislature can make these changes so that it can better fit CETA as well as these investors. Let us know how the legislature can assist in amending those statutes. And then it seems like there's another issue in regards to deficiencies on judgment debts on foreclosure and auction of mortgage assets. Again, these are stuff that it seems like they need the legislature's assistance to assist with that. So continue on with that mission. Again, should you get confirmed. As of right now, these are some of the things I was hoping that if confirmed, you guys can address. I don't have any particular concerns in regards to your confirmation. I based on your educational background as well as statements from the community, I can confidently say that this is your nomination was something that I would also support. However, in moving forward, I know that there's still this learning curve, and it's something that you're gonna have to bury your head in and try to understand more about some of the areas that need some fixing. And so again, the mayor is a great source of information that you can reach out to since she has served on this board for several years. Other than that, again, thank you for stepping up and volunteering your time to assist in trying to bring back the, um, I guess, reinvent or restart our economy. And then Ms. Dana, with your economic background and your degree in economics, I think that's a great addition to the team. And so congratulations on making it this far. And I prematurely offer my support on your full confirmation should it come to the full Senate. Thank you. I yield for now, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Magnolia. Mr. Taitano, you mentioned earlier, or I'll recognize Senator Paul first before if you have any.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too would like to commend the two nominees before us today. Dana and Daniel, I think, have left the island, went to further their education, got their bachelor's degree in the mainland, and they're here back in the islands. And for that, I thank you, and I thank you also for taking on this additional responsibility to serve on our CDAB Board of Directors. So, si Susmansi. I think one of the challenges that you're gonna find out we all have, and I'm just wondering, I'm just trying to understand here on Rhoda in particular. I remember decades ago, many of our young people back then, they're really like lining up at CDA to get money and borrow for any kind of business, apartment, buildings, all kinds of small businesses. Maybe that's something that we need to look at, help us see why our young kids are very hesitant. Because nowadays there's so much funding available out there. And I believe if they have good credit ratings, they can, avail of much lower interest rate. So I just want to know what are the challenges, and maybe, we can work with the Chamber of Commerce. I want to say that I congratulate our local businesses here on the island because they have finally established a Chamber of Commerce, which I hope that you can work with them and assist our young entrepreneurs, the areas that they can venture in and avail of the funding at CDA, SEDA, and take a risk, right? I mean, one thing that I look at is the availability of empty houses on Rhoda or commercial buildings. If somehow, we can get our young people to get involved and take a risk here, borrow money, and I guess not be afraid, right? I mean, there's so much money available. In the past, people were lining up because there's not enough money at CDA, and they also want to get into some business. So maybe you can share those information with us, and we can then promote for a landscape out there that will give better results to our business people, right? One area that I looked at, and I see that you work at DPL, Daniel, right, is the DPL land lease rate, right? I'm working with our legal counsel on coming up with an exemption for Rhode Antinian, actually, and maybe attorney, we can give a copy of the draft to the nominees, because I really want to move that forward, because it's not a level playing field for somebody coming to do a business, borrow $500,000, right, and do something on Rhoda versus on Saipan, where the tourism industry there is flourishing, picking back up quickly, and to expect the same borrower here to lease public land at the same rate. So that's one area that maybe you can help us generate a legislation, right, so that we can give some break to public land lessees for Rhode Antinian, and even for the next 5 years, right? So those that come in at this time and lease public land, they can be given that break. The other area that I'm looking at is and something new that I don't, that I hope some people can start looking here on Rhoda is condominium, right? I mean, Article 12 is an issue. People year after year lobby us to look at Article 12 because they were saying it's a hindrance to investors. But I don't know if we're all aware that there's this condominium laws that are in existence, and Article 12 allow for airspace from second floor up to be so fee simple. So that's an area that maybe we have families and friends on Guam that want to come out here and invest in condominiums so that they can come here and regularly and hopefully with reasonable airfare can be part of our economic development here. So that's an area that it doesn't have to be a huge condominium investment, but even 20, 30, 50 units, right? And we can promote that with nearby Guam and just 20-minute plane ride. So that's something that I hope you can look into that at SIDA. Rhoda Resort, see what's going on with Rhoda Resort. It has given us a real black eye because that's supposed to be one of the beautiful attraction for people to come here because you have a beautiful 18-hole golf course, and nice facility there in beautiful northwestern side of Rhoda. I guess I'm saying you don't need to have millions and millions of dollars. Somebody, or people here can try to get joint venture or something going on, and because we need to get that back. And that's why actually I'm working with the legal counsel to see whether we can give a break on the lease. Also, that's one of the reasons there for the new lessee. If there's no one that's willing to come in, then that could be an incentive. Senator Dono mentioned about QC. We actually have an existing law for casino development on Rhoda and combining with tourism development to get a QC. They're qualified, unlike Saitan, they do not have that. Rhoda and Tinian already have an existing QC legislation for casino tourism development. They're qualified, and that will, I guess, come before your agency if anyone is interested. So we just have to put that out, the word out. But I'm just concerned because for the longest time, for example, on Rhoda, there is no hollow block, right? Why isn't anyone, local business people here looking at that to get into that business? We have a 200-some thousand crusher equipment on Rhoda sitting down for months when we don't have a crusher equipment here. That seems nobody's interested to get in and operate that. So I'm just saying, I know that you're here, you're going to provide loans and all that, but SIDA should also be actively helping the community, right? Because that's one of the reasons why it's so expensive to build structures here, buildings here, because hollow block, coral, and all that, not to mention the shipping costs that just to bring construction materials here. So these are challenges, and I'm really happy that you're taking on this challenge, and you know that there's a lot of work ahead for us. Airlines, MVA issues, those involve your agency. So what can we do to help maybe local companies here to promote Rhoda in Guam? So many Manamco Center there, the military, the Golf Association, Boy Scout. Imagine if we can bring a couple group every weekend here. Our restaurants will be full and our hotels. So these are areas that I'm kind of excited because you guys are, like they say, energetic, and you just got back here. You're full of energy. You have ideas, and we hope that can be translated into improving our economic condition here on Rhoda. Um, the if an investor were to come here and they drive around the island just to get a look at our island, if they drive past Ponya Point, they see a sign that says no cell service, right? These are small things, but they're not directly under your agency, but we all have to voice out, support each other and voice out, because we need cell service around the island. I already brought this a couple times to the agencies and the companies in Saipan. But one of the law in the Commonwealth is not only the rates shall be compatible, but the quality and the level of service for telecommunication companies should be the same in all the islands, and it is not. And that's something that we need to constantly pursue, right? Because if a person is trying to come here and look at the potential of investing, and they see that there's the infrastructure, and especially the cell service is not uniformly provided across the island, and that's a negative on us. And so I'm just saying this because we're following up, but I guess agencies, MBA, CDA, CUC, all across, right, as representatives of our small island, we need to be vocal. We need to constantly follow up, and so I just mention all of this because you're becoming part of our team, and I want to welcome you. No, si Diyos Masi, Chair, then talo si Diyos Masi na nasiptesti.
Thank you, Senator Paul. It'd be unfair to ask you about CEDA board policy because you haven't sat in for to observe a board of directors meeting yet, but we want to get to know you guys better and how you personally address certain things. So my biggest thing is one, we're listening to what you are saying. We truly are. Mr. Taitano, you mentioned that this job is something that you do not take lightly. And I have been frustrated with MBA, CEDA, Commerce, and it's primarily with their marketing. MBA has, since its existence, has only marketed tourist attraction, beaches, our World War II relics, our ancient relics. But they have not marketed investment opportunities in the Marianas, and that is sorely lacking in our Marianas, in the CNMI. So I'm frustrated in that. There's great potential for investors to come in, and over the last decade, Saipan, Tinian, Rhoda casinos have been the forefront of their mind. And maybe it's just me, but I find that industry to be very vulgar because of the social ills that it carries, the residual effects of it. And of course, that's my personal opinion. Others' opinions will differ from mine. I understand that and I acknowledge it. Some are in support of casinos, I am not. And we can't continue to rely on casinos as our financial saving grace. It has been proven time and time again, Rhoda, Tinian, Saipan. We do not have the population base to sustain that industry. And these casino investors continue to take advantage of our naivete in this industry because it's something novel to the CNMI. Similarly, internet gambling. Many legislators have introduced legislation to promote internet gambling, and that is even more dangerous. And it may seem like a harmless activity to be gambling on your phone, but the effects of it in general are truly devastating, I believe. Many lives and livelihoods here in the cinema have been ruined by gambling addiction. We have seen it. Many of our families have experienced it. And gambling, to me, is easily as toxic as synthetic drugs. The easy access of internet gambling, coupled with the ubiquitous ownership of smartphones, means more people, particularly younger people with poor impulse controls, makes it very dangerous. To prove my point, try taking away a smartphone from a 2-year-old, and you will be fighting with that 2-year-old. And that's how easily internet gambling can be addictive. And I think we should keep away from, at least based on statistics that we have experienced, casinos are not for the CNMI. I mean, if you look at the numbers, it's irrefutable math. In gambling and internet gambling, the house always wins. Tadza mumizunonor tarabyak tiningo. Ginin poker machine. Ginin casino. Gwini gitautota. Tadza tiningo. Correct me if I'm wrong, but based on my information, tadza mumizunonor. And I expressed my frustration with MBA, Commerce, and CETA because they operate in silos. They don't communicate to properly market the CNMI. Not only should we be marketing our tourist attractions, but I really feel that MBA or Commerce or CETA needs to be marketing investment opportunities in the Marianas. You brought up a very good point, Ms. Calvo, intangible products. And I agree with you. But the other marketing tools or industries that we can market for the cinema, and I'm passionate about this, is the shipping industry because we have a Jones Act waiver. I highly suggest you read into what it is. It's a complex maritime law. It is in our covenant. We were granted Jones Act waiver since the inception of our covenant with the United States. Those are marketable items. Investors, if they knew that we have a Jones Act waiver in the CNMI, they will come, I believe, because it reduces the cost of goods. And that is the reason why I'm passionate about the Jones Act waiver, is because I want to help Tinian and Rhoda reduce their cost of fuel, which is crippling to our household. And I think if we utilize that waiver to the best interests of the CNMI, we will see a reduction in costs in commodities being transshipped from the United States to the CNMI. And I have spoken with Executive Director Manny Sablon at CETA. There will be, in the next couple of weeks, I will be introducing legislation to create a new industry in the CNMI because we can't continue to rely on tourism. And this is also an industry that I'm passionate about, and I would like it marketed to Asia, particularly because of its proximity to the CNMI, particularly Japan and Korea. the FSM, we are so behind. The FSM has this industry and has had this industry, and I'll talk about it at another time, has had this industry over, they've introduced legislation on it over 13 years ago. And today it is a $16 million industry for the FSM. Guam has this industry. This industry has been in existence for over 40 years. And I will talk about that more when I introduce that legislation. But we've already heard from you basically what your plans are. Is there anything else that you would like to inform this committee as to what type of industry you see the need for, and tailor it? Rhoda has each island has their own unique personality and something they have to offer. Tinian has something separate to offer than Saipan or Rhoda. So I hope that you guys can tailor your investment portfolios to market to the world. And I'd like to ask you, is there anything else that you may see the need for here?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I would fall back to our roots, market agriculture, at least for the island of Rhoda. We all know how good our soil is. I feel like if we have the younger generation come back and they see the interests and how good agriculture can benefit them, maybe that would start something new instead of tourism, all the other stuff that you mentioned, Madam Chair. Because not a lot of locals are doing a lot of agriculture here now on the island, and I feel like we're missing out on that. It's because there's no opportunity. They don't see the money in agriculture, as they say. They see hard work, they see sweat, tears, and they're afraid of that. So going back to agriculture would definitely be something I would push.
Thank you. And I, in line with that, I recommend you bring in the technology to make it easier to process, because that could be an export of Rhoda, whether it's inter-island or to the world. Look at Hawaii. They produce a lot of things from their fruits: lilikoi, lychee, passion fruit, dragon fruit. They process those, so we need processing centers. And I advise you to dream big, but don't try to tackle everything at once. We can't, focus on one and perfect it. I think slowly, one step at a time, will get us there. Would you like to share something, Ms. Calvo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I completely agree with Mr. Taitano about the agriculture industry. I think that is something that we can resolve and for food security here in the CNMI. And if that essential need is met, it does allow our community more opportunities in terms of job variety, as well as nutrients, and also gives them more free time to divert their energy into something else if our agriculture is locally met. And I know that USDA there's a lot of support for an ag industry here in the CNMI, and they really help individual farmers from personal experience. And I'm passionate about the agriculture industry, and it goes along with tangible product. And I think it could also concur with, like you said, an export and contributing to the shipping towards Asia and that industry as well. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Recognize Senator Palming-Lonya.
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about agriculture, and I totally agree. There's USDA, there's a lot of grants out there that if we can just introduce our young kids and to go venture into those areas, because Department of Commerce, for example, I believe they have a program participating nationwide in trying to produce, to market locally produce produce, right? Team San Nicolas, for example, on Rhoda is trying to do a lot with Dauk, and so those kind of products, right? We have a lot of we have now present farmers that are sending produce to Guam, and we can do it to Saipan. So I think that's wonderful. We need to focus and more on the agricultural production and marketing side, and I'm so happy to know that you two see that, and we'll work toward that direction. There's so much potential. I mentioned, for example, on Saipan, all those hotels that are leasing public land. You go into their restaurants and you go to their buffet. Not one fruit is from the island. It's all imported watermelon and melon. That's the only two fruits they have. Imported watermelon and melon. They don't have otis, laguanan, or dragon fruit, or they don't serve any of that. So that's an area that we can export to Saipan or to Guam also, because these companies are leasing public land. We should demand that they sell our fish there and our produce. No, so thank you for pointing that out. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Mangonia. I recognize Senator Dennis Mendiola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I heard a lot of the interest, and some of the direction that we want to take this, and it's outstanding. I honestly agree with a lot of the stuff that's put on the table today. But one of the things that I was taught, and where when we start planning on economics development, and you guys mentioned this is very important, it's our port of entry. So we can develop a lot of agriculture right now, but how do we get this out if we're not stable shipping wise or airline? So for me, I think coming together and start recognizing our priority of works and how we start tackling issues here in the CNMI as a whole, to include Rhoda when it comes down to port of entry, because that's our economic driving force. And you guys had mentioned that earlier, and I think it's really important that we go back and figure out how do we stabilize our shipping, how do we stabilize our airline industry, so that if, let's say, there is a grant proposal for 20 farmers in Rhoda, all of these guys can compete in shipping these products and actually selling them. Because right now, I don't know how much, let's say, Star Moranis can sustain if we have multiple farmers here in Rhoda. How much cargo flights can we send? We're gonna have to force them to buy new planes and stuff like that, which again, it's still economics, right? Because we're forcing the market to grow, or we're forcing more industries to open up. So for me, I think we just need to go to the drawing board and just identify all these important key economic driving force for the CNMI. I agree with the chair that that casino is not as sustainable. I mean, she's mentioned that we've opened it, we failed, we've opened it, we failed. Sure, but the question now is what's next? What's next? What's the next step here? How do we take this to the next level, or what do we do from here? Because I've heard, to be honest with you, I'm going to say that I've heard agriculture as a economic driving force for Rhoda since maybe 15 years ago. I've heard it a lot, and again, it's great. It's great point, and I think that we need to focus on it. But the problem is that we start something and then we kind of disregard it. We shift to another focus, then we shift to another focus. So the problem is we're really good at starting a lot of these business ventures, but we're not capitalizing or sustaining them. And that's where a lot of times our business industry, I've seen a lot of stores open up and then close down. And somebody mentioned here that we don't have the population to sustain it. Should we don't have the tourist industry, we won't have the population to sustain the market. So again, I just don't want us to just jump into a business venture that's gonna just fail, because then more wasted funds. And given the state of the economy right now, we got to start tightening up the shot groups and start identifying what's more presidents for Rhoda, Tinian, and Saipan for that matter. Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Recognize Senator Donald Maloney.
Thank you again, Chair. These are just some things that were being brought up as we continue on with discussion. I know you brought up agriculture as one of the industry that we can, put our focus on to more. And I'm just going to share some recommendations. I know maybe in today's world, this generation, this upcoming generation, is not someone. It's not a group that would probably venture into the soil kind of farming, and so maybe introducing hydroponics or something like that is something that is more feasible in this day and age. I mean, I'm an avid user of TikTok, just looking at the different, you know, inventions or the next new thing. And so even just looking and watching about hydroponics is something that you can really do in your own backyard, growing vertically. And so this is something that maybe this new generation can look into. It's very organic, and it's something that could probably fit around their schedule. And so maybe it's going to be hard to get them off of the iPad or the cell phone, right? So it's something that what are the new technologies in our time now that we could explore and start teaching our new generation. Further, I know there's discussion about casino, and while we do not want to close the door on that, it's still something that we can still possibly save if that's still what our people want, right? We also got to think about the growing military presence on Guam, and how can the Rhoda in particular tap into that market and bring in investors that would also cater maybe to the military or their families, and looking at Rhoda as a destination of their R&R. And so again, that's another investment opportunity for maybe whether it be more Airbnbs or and again, this is something that you guys can, while you get in and start developing this plan to go out and show investors. I hope that these are some of the things that can be considered, and hopefully that could help you in addressing some of the needs to meet the whatever market it is our people are trying to tap into. And so making sure that we have the infrastructure to meet that demand. And so yeah, sorry, these just came up as the other members came up with this discussion. And so once again, congratulations in advance. You.
Last thing, I wanted to commend Mr. Tim Nicholas, as Senator Paul mentioned. I met with him this morning at the restaurant, and he gave me a sample of his daok oil, and I explained to him that when I brought investors over here last month, I gave them a sample that I had gotten from Sao Paulo, some store in Sao Paulo, and I explained to him what it was used for. And Mr. St. Nicholas's sample that he gave me had the right packaging for it. He just needs a label for it. And I gave one sample to the investors that I brought over. And they're very interested. These are Korean investors who were taking a look at Rhoda to develop their company here. And one of the suggestions they made is that they're looking for products like that. So you're already one step ahead, should you be confirmed for CETA, is the tangible products. So they like those things. Tourists, especially Korean tourists, from what we're hearing, the trend is they like family-oriented activities is what they're looking at. So it's a different market, right? Depending on the age you're marketing to. So it appeals, at least the Korean market, a lot of family-oriented activities and venues is what attracts them to come out to Rhoda in particular. They didn't mention Tinian. They didn't mention Saipan. They didn't want to go to Guam for shopping. They already have shopping malls bigger than those that they have in Guam, but they look for a place to relax and enjoy nature in particular. So I just wanted to toss that in, recognized Senator Paul Manglonia.
Thank you, Chair. I have to agree totally with my colleague Senator Dennis Mendiola on the port facility, both at the seaport and the airport. And for example, the airport, I was mentioning this morning in our meeting with our mayor and some Air Force officials who are out here looking at our airport infrastructure because they're thinking of doing some improvement works where the military and the community can both benefit. So they're looking at fuel farm, warehouse areas, and properties near the airport where if in the future they need to send Air Force people here, military people, they have enough space. So, for example, that meeting this morning, I think working with the military, we can get infrastructure projects for Rhoda because if we're going to get direct flights, tourists from direct from Korea, for example, who companies are expressing interest to come here, we need to work on our runway. We need to work on having a fuel farm at the airport and also hangar facilities. So these are exciting times. The military has plans in our region, and if we work together, we can address our airport infrastructure. Some projects we might not be as successful in getting funding, but we might need to go to CDA and find a way of financing it. If investors want to come and they need some infrastructure, we need to borrow money and do it. So that's where you guys come in. As far as the seaport facility, one of the concerns really over the years was back in the 80s, we were overestimating the economic development from Rhoda. So there's a lot of activities during the boom time, the Japanese time. So CPA decided to have a monopoly operation at the seaport, which was fine maybe at that time because we need a company that can put investment, buy equipments, hire people, and provide quality stevedoring services. But now it's really depressed. So I'm trying to kind of get CPA to reevaluate it because I think that a monopoly operation on Rhoda is not the right type of operation. It's increasing the price of goods on Rhoda because the economy of scale is simply not there. So we have to have an operation just like in Saipan or in Tinian, where if a vessel needs service of stevedoring, there's a company that's assigned and is regulated. If the vessel can come in easily and say, I have my own men and my own equipment, small equipment, roll on, roll off operation, they should be allowed to do it without having to pay extra fees. So those are the challenges that hopefully, and I have gotten the ears and attention of the present governor and the lieutenant governor, and they're going to work with us on the seaport as well. Give you an example. We used to have a $2 million factory, water factory on Rhoda, right? Remember the one near the Rhoda Resort? They were already packing up, boxes of water, but they reneged on moving forward with their operation because of the stevedoring charges, right? So those are the kind of things that doesn't make sense when we have sweet potatoes and we're sending them air freight. It doesn't make sense if we're going to drop down the cost of sweet potatoes so we can get more profit to the farmers. We need to be able to ship them off island at a reasonable cost. So those are just examples that we need to tackle. And I totally agree. In order to improve the economy of an island, we need to make sure the airport, seaport are run efficiently, effectively, and reasonably so that we can have that economic activity. And also, I have been accused in the past of trying to pay politics. This has nothing to do with politics. I say this out clearly that my own intention is just so that we can be able to bring goods in and out to this island, so that it will only benefit those importing and exporting. No, so that's something that we might be visiting you for financing of some of these projects. No, I know that you both work at the federal grant office before. So, for example, the crane, we have a grant now there that we think we're gonna get, but the more I think about it, we might need to adjust that, because from what I'm hearing, a crane has to be maybe bigger than the 75 ton, for example. Maybe the most appropriate one is 100 ton, so that when you use the crane, you don't have to worry about the reaching the other side of the ship, right, or the barge. So those are the kind of things that, if we have the right equipment, the right type of operation, then we can do things cheaper and charge our people reasonably. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Pamalonia. We don't have anything further. And I just wanted to close off this meeting by saying, based on our observations, we have determined that your persona, character, demeanor will serve CETA as members of the Board of Directors very well. And we share the Governor Palocious' confidence in your abilities. And before we dismiss you, I just wanted to let you both know that it is this committee's privilege to recommend to advance your nomination, to confirm your nomination to the full Senate when we have our next Senate session. That is all for today. You are dismissed. Thank you for your time. Thank you. And moving along to the next item on the agenda, we have miscellaneous. Is there any member who wishes to bring up anything at this point?
Madam Chair, I just want to invite the public tomorrow at 1 p.m. The Rota delegation will be having a session to confirm Ms. Valerie Apatang and Ms. Tonica Brasinas to this Rota Municipal Scholarship Board. And so I hope that, if any of you would like to provide any comments to these individuals, or even recommendations on how to improve the program once they get confirmed, we hope you can share that tomorrow afternoon. Same, we'll be right here at 1 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members? If there are none, I would like to recognize Senator Donald Manglonia for the proper motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Madam Chair, I move to adjourn today's meeting.
Motion has been made and it has been seconded. Are there any objections to the main motion? There being no opposition or concerns, the motion hereby passes. It is now exactly 3 o'clock p.m. and this meeting is hereby adjourned.